everyone. Today I am going to discuss with you the topic reproduction in plants of class 7 science. Let us begin. First of all, you should know what is reproduction. Reproduction, the production of new individuals from their parents, is known as reproduction. In plants, reproduction means production of new plants from parent plants. For reproduction in plants, parts of plants are divided into two categories. The first one is vegetative parts of the plants, which are stems, roots and leaves. The second one is reproductive parts of the plant. Flowers are the reproductive parts of the plants. Then modes of reproduction. There are two modes of reproduction in plants. The first one is asexual reproduction and the second one is sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, plants give rise to new plants without seeds. But in the sexual reproduction, new plants are obtained from seeds. Types of asexual reproduction. Further, asexual reproduction are also of four types. The first one is vegetative propagation, second one is budding, third one is fragmentation, and the fourth one is spore formation. First is vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation is the first type of asexual reproduction in which new plants are produced from roots, stems, leaves and buds. You can see here picture. Here the new plants are obtained from the root. So this is also one of the example of vegetative propagation. Then is vegetative propagation by leaves. Vegetative propagation is commonly seen in the leaves of the Bryophyllum and Begonia. In Bryophyllum, buds present over the edges of a leaf detach from the parent plant and give rise to a new plantlet. Even when a leaf falls on the moist soil, the buds still develop into the new plantlets. You can also see here picture of the Bryophyllum plant. Then is the vegetative propagation by budding. It is also the form of the asexual reproduction in which new plants develops from the bud part of the parent plant. For example, in the picture below you can see that new plants are produced from the bud. Next, budding is also seen in the yeast as shown below in the picture. You can see here this is the parent yeast and here a bud is developed. Further number of buds are developed from the parent. Next is vegetative propagation by stem. Vegetative propagation occurs through stems when new plants arise from the nodes. This is where the buds are formed which grow into new plants. Stems that grow horizontally on the ground are called the runners. You can see here these are the runners from which new plant is developed. Then is the next mode of reproduction, that is sexual mode of reproduction. So you can see here in the picture also. Sexual mode of reproduction in plants. Flowering plants reproduce sexually through a process called pollination. Flower contains male sex organs called stamens and the female sex organs called pistils. You can see here these three parts are of pistil and then here it is the stamen. This is the anther, this is the filament and this is the stigma, style, ovary of the pistil. Then the anther is the part of the stamen that contains the pollen. So pollen grains are present in the anther of the flower. Then further, you should also know what is pollination. The pollination is the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the flower. It is also of two types. The first one is self-pollination and the second one is cross-pollination. So first is self-pollination. When pollen grains transfer from the anther of stigma of the same flower, then it is known as self-pollination. You can see here self-pollination. Then second one is cross-pollination. When pollen grains transfer from the anther of one flower to the stigma of the other flower. That is known as cross pollination. So here in the picture cross pollination is shown. You can see it. Then in the plants, fertilization is the process of sexual reproduction in which that occurs after the pollination and germination. Fertilization can be defined as the fusion of the male gametes and the female gametes to form a zygote. So here the process of fertilization is shown. Then after fertilization, each ovule develops into a seed. Each seed contains a tiny undeveloped plant called an embryo. The ovary surrounding the ovules develops into the fruit that contains one or more seeds. So you can see here, this is the seed and this is the fruit. Thank you.